Welcome to Daniel's 70th week and the 75 days following those first 2,520 days of Daniel's future 70th week that we feel we're coming upon. And at the close of Daniel's 70th week and at the commencement of the 45 days will be the year of Jubilee at the conclusion of the 75 days. Now, this presentation is a combination of material used from Dr. Gavin Finley of the End Time Pilgrim and Doug Krieger of the Tribulation Network. I am Doug Krieger, and unfortunately, and due to my lack of technological skills, I'm going to have to narrate this entire presentation. And that's a sad state of affairs in that Dr. Gavin Finley's Australian accent is so superior to my common American accent that there is really no comparison. Again, this is set 1 of slides 1 through 32. Daniel's 70th week, 75 days following those 2,520 days, and the year of Jubilee, which will commence during the 75 days and extend beyond into the 1,000-year literal millenarian reign of the Son of David on earth. This is again a presentation with the End Time Pilgrim with Dr. Gavin Finley and myself of the Tribulation Network, Doug Krieger. And I would encourage you in this matter to get an opportunity to visit www.endtimepilgrim.org for their many devotional, exhortational articles on end time themes, primarily from Dr. Gavin Finley, but many other authors who are contributing. And again, we can be found at www.the-tribulation-network.com. And now on to our 9 special presentations on the above-mentioned topics regarding the 70th week of Daniel, the following 75 days, and the year of Jubilee. Again, I will be your host, Doug Krieger, during the entire presentation. Daniel's prophecy of the 70 weeks, the 70 weeks and the Jubilee cycles, again by Dr. Gavin Finley, who is a medical doctor, I hasten to add, and very unusual in that his prophetical insights are so parallel to so many of ours, and that's why we feel very comfortable using virtually 90% of this presentation belongs to Dr. Finley. But anyway, I will be integrating our propaganda into his slides to enhance and strengthen his arguments insofar as his interpretation of the 70th week and of the year of Jubilee in particular. In this study, we're going to step out of our comfort zone to investigate an unsolved case. It seems that throughout the centuries, this matter of the Jubilee cycles has been and continues to be shrouded in mystery. The mystery of the Jubilees. That is supposed to be Sherlock Holmes there, I would assume. So we're on a quest, an investigation. The Jubilee was introduced to the children of Israel as they made covenant with God and became a nation at Sinai. It was to be a time of refreshment, a time for God's covenant people to return to their tribal homeland, to gather with their families and reconnect with their God. And there is an example of Israel, the tribes of Israel, all gathered about the tabernacle in the wilderness in front of Mount Sinai. The Jubilee year is a great blessing. The economy resets every 49 years. Debts are canceled and the captives are set free. But there is no biblical record of Israel ever actually keeping the Jubilee. So is this really an important matter? Well, we do know this. The length of Judah's 70-year captivity in Babylon was based upon the number of years in which they had not kept the sabbatical years. So we can say this with some assurance. If God did not forget the sabbatical year, then has he certainly not forgotten the Jubilee year. Here we see the prophet Jeremiah as he denounces the priest in the next slide for their neglect. All of God's precepts, including the Jubilee, had been given to the nation of Israel for their benefit, but the people did their own thing. Soon afterwards, Jerusalem fell to the armies of Nebuchadnezzar, and Judah went into captivity in Babylon for 70 years. There's a depiction of Jeremiah warning the peoples, and yet, as you can see them picking up stones, they were all not that impressed with what Jeremiah had to say about their condition. The Jubilee system is a wonderful ordinance of economic policy, bringing great blessings. It has been given through Israel to the world, but never established anywhere. This magnificent image of the law and teachings coming down from Mount Sinai is by the Jewish artist Eisen. His work can be purchased online at the Israeli Poster Center. In Ephesians 2:11 through 13, we see that the ultimate citizenship for Christian believers is in the Commonwealth of Israel. We read that passage, but we are still not getting the message. All this will become clear in the latter days. If you Google Commonwealth of Israel, there is an article on the subject at the End Time Pilgrim website. The Commonwealth of Israel. Notice the two olive trees and the menorah in the midst. That is taken as from Zechariah chapter 4. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. Zechariah 4 and verse 6. As Christian believers, we are saved under the atoning blood of Christ. In him, the Holy One of Israel, we have become new creatures in a global spiritual household that goes beyond DNA. But even as we recognize some of this, our amnesia and our partial blindness to our citizenship in the Commonwealth of Israel continues. So here we are, all these centuries later, and we ask the question, what happened to Israel's Jubilee? Has it been lost, never to be seen again? Dominionists will say that the church has replaced Israel. So who cares about the Jubilee? We'll make our own Jubilee. Of course, we know that is a lie. But then the question comes up, how could this ancient precept of Israel possibly relate to us? The mystery of the Jubilees continues as our investigation continues. Well, as we shall discover in this study, the Jubilee is important, and it has not miscarried in Israel, nor has it been forgotten by our God. So do come and join us as we set out to solve this case. You won't be disappointed. And before we have finished here, we are going to find those missing Jubilee cycles. And when the set time has come, the trumpets of Jubilee will sound. At that time, the Jubilee cycles will be established under the Messiah in the glorious millennial kingdom to come, where the lion will lay down with the lamb. If Israel has not observed the Jubilee and the church considers it irrelevant, Then is the Jubilee ever going to be established here on earth? And if so, how? In Daniel chapter 9, we find our answer. After the fall of Babylon, the prophet Daniel stood in the gap, interceding for both the scattered houses of Israel. That prayer was highly significant, because immediately afterwards the answer came. It appears that the God of Israel is keeping track of Jubilee cycles after all. But here is the caveat. He is only tracking them in His holy time. When we look closely, we shall discover that the Jubilee cycles are neatly wrapped up inside the timeline of Daniel's prophecy of the 70 weeks, as well as being intimately connected to three major events at its apocalyptic terminus. This may seem strange at first, but as we proceed on all this, will all become clear. 10 Jubilee cycles, as you can see there, 490 years. Each cycle, 49. There are 10 separate cycles in the 70 weeks of Daniel. Therefore, 70 times 7 equals 490 years. 2. The Jubilee of Messiah, the 70 weeks of Daniel. 49, 49, 49, 49, all 10 sets, if you would, of 49, leading up to the final 49. 7 times 70. In this investigation, we are going to discover that the Jubilee cycles link up to the 70 weeks prophecy in no less than 6 critically important ways. We shall discover that the Jubilee is vitally involved with 1. The initiation of the 70 weeks, 2. The timeline of the 70 weeks, 3. The terminus of these 70 weeks, 4. The second coming of Messiah, 5. The feast or moed at the last day, the pivotal Day of Atonement, and 6. The heralding of the millennium. The coming year of Jubilee has a major connection to the Day of Atonement, the second of the fall feasts of Israel. We'll be talking about that at length in this video, as well as the 75 days at the close of the 70 weeks of Daniel. We shall also discover that the upcoming Jubilee happens to be the Jubilee of Messiah. On that day, the trumpets of Jubilee will be announcing the apocalypse or unveiling of Messiah. There's a depiction of the Messiah seated upon his throne. That same Jubilee up ahead will also be proclaiming the millennium of Messiah. This does conclude our first PowerPoint video presentation and voiceover. Again, I'm your narrator, Doug Krieger of the Tribulation Network. This is a presentation presented primarily by Dr. Gavin Finley and with additions by Doug Krieger of the Tribulation Network. Thank you for viewing and listening. Let's go on now to our second video.